record this, and I'll try to get that video uploaded by after third period today for you guys. All right, and let's switch this over to our definitions. So the last definition we do today, it's more like notes than like a specific term and definition, but we're going to talk about how you make white in watercolor. And so, and as you can see from the definition, as we kind of talked about when we were doing the value scale and the sphere, the white in a watercolor painting is the white of the paper. It's basically the area, we use the white of the paper as the white of our painting. So the areas in a painting that need to be white are left unpainted. So we don't have a white watercolor, and you can see that on our watercolor palette. There is no white watercolor paint, and that's because we use the transparency, the fact that watercolor is see-through. We use that transparency to help us create lighter colors. So the white of the paper, because the paint is transparent, we use that transparency to basically make our colors lighter instead of mixing our colors with white. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Totally forget. Oh yeah, but basically anywhere that needs to be, you know, like stark white, like very, very white, is just the white of the paper. So go ahead and write down this note at the bottom, and this is the last thing we're writing today. So making white, how do we make white? Basically don't. It's already there for you. So making white, the white in a watercolor painting is the white of the paper. Areas that need to be white are left unpainted. And in parentheses, include that part, there is no white watercolor paint. And not to say that white watercolor paint does not exist. It does. And you may see it if you go to a, you know, craft store or something like that, or an art store. You'll see that they do sell white watercolor paint. But the way that traditional watercolor works is that the traditional watercolor artists use the white of the paper as the white in their painting. So this means that you have to be very careful. If you have areas that are white, and I'm sure you guys have noticed, you can't erase watercolor paint. Once it's soaked into the paper and it's no longer shiny, if you don't, you know, grab your a paper towel or something and soak up that paint right away, it basically stains the paper into whatever color you made. So it's super important that if there are any white areas in your painting that you're doing, you make sure that you stay away from those areas and you leave those completely unpainted. So we're going to practice that in our last square over here. So you guys can go ahead and flip over your paper. Once you're done, oh sorry, wait, before you flip over your paper, take a photo of the back side with all of the definitions, as long as you have all of them. Because today what you're going to do is you're going to turn in 2 photos. Once you're done, you're going to turn in a photo of the back side with all the definitions. So once you've got that done, go ahead and take that photo right now. Because you don't want to take it after you're done, because then you would have to flip over your paper. It's got all the wet stuff on the front side. So take a photo now of all your definitions. And if you were gone for a day or missed any definitions, just know that they are on the slideshow. They're all right here, and they are attached to this Watercolor Techniques slideshow. They're about the 3rd or 4th slide down, right there. So if you missed any definitions, or if I was going too fast one day, this slideshow is attached to all of the watercolor assignments, and you can find the definitions there. You can also find the sphere here as well. If you need to look at the sphere, maybe if you need to add more value, darker values to it or anything like that, you can find the image for the sphere there as well. So today, after we finish that last square, you will have a chance to kind of complete anything else on this that you may need to complete. So go ahead and flip over your paper after you get a picture of your definitions. And I'm going to make this bigger. And we will work on that last square today. And this last square goes by pretty quick. First, we will start with mixing our color that we want to use. And so I did say if you need to work on your value scale today, you can work on your value scale after we're done with this. If you want to, if you're someone that needs to continue working on your value scale, you can just mix a gray and use a gray in this box if you want to. Or you can mix any color that you would like. So I'm going to mix, let's see, what color have I not used a lot? I'm going to do red. But you can mix whatever color you want, and you're just going to make a little puddle of whatever color you want. You can mix colors together. You can make a, what's it called? Not a tetradic color, what we did yesterday. A tertiary color if you want to, but you're mixing together any color that you want. And it also doesn't have to be mixed. I'm just going to use red. You're getting a little puddle of red in there. It doesn't need to be a lot of paint. And we're just going to use one color for this last square. And so you can test out your color. Just make sure it's not too crazy light. You want the color to be able to show up on a piece of paper nicely. So if you had something that looked closer to something like that, where you can just barely see the color at the top, you want to make sure that you make that a little bit darker. So something around here is good. And it can be a color, it can be gray, does not matter. And you don't need much of it. Anything about the size of a dime or bigger will do. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to mix up your color. So again, any color of your choice, does not matter. If you know you're going to work on your value scale today and you need to get a little bit darker values in there, you can mix like a darker gray, because then you can use that dark gray for not only this square, but also your value scale or also your sphere. I'll give you guys like 3 minutes to do that, and then I'll show you what to do. Yeah, and so for you, because you're going to work on your value scale more, right? I think you need to add just a little bit more to section 8. So I would mix like a medium to dark gray, something like about like that in here. And then you can use that gray for this, and you can use it for that. So then you don't have to mix two separate times, It'll just save you time. So try to mix something that matches about this dark. Okay? There we go, looks good. All right, so you guys have about 2 more minutes. We'll get started at 9:20 is when I'll show you how to do this last square, which does not take very long. And then for the rest of the period from 9:20-ish to 9:52, that will be open to you. So about 30 minutes will be open to you to either finish up what needs to be done on this worksheet. So working on getting that value scale, those steps correct, or maybe getting them darker if they need to go darker, possibly working on the sphere. If you missed a day for any of these, you can start working on those. Or if you're done with this, but you have missing work that you haven't done yet for our class, you can work on that as well for the last 30 minutes of class. But for now, you guys are just focusing on getting a nice color going. Again, not something that's too light. You want to be able to see the color on the paper, but it should still be semi-transparent, so a little bit see-through. So something like this would be a little too dark. You want something right in between. And again, you can use any color that you want. You can do gray if you want to work on your, if you know that you're going to work on your value scale. That will help save you some time. All right, and it's 9:20, so if you're not finished yet, totally fine. I'm just gonna show you what you're gonna do real quick. So I do want everyone to watch first, and then I'll dismiss you guys to work on this and anything else that you need to work on. So you can do this first part with me. Go ahead and label this square. We're going to label it making white, even though we're not technically making white. We're going to show an example of how we create white in a watercolor painting. So go ahead and label that square making white. And then I want you guys just to watch me first. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to show an example of how you leave certain areas of your painting and how you paint around certain areas that you want to leave white. So what I'm going to have you guys do, and you can do this by, you can, again, I just want you watching, and then I'll let you guys, after I'm done, you guys can work on this. If it helps, you can draw out first kind of what we're going to do, but if you feel like you don't need to, it's not necessary. So what we're going to do is we are going to take the first letter of our name, and we're going to basically show that first letter of our name in white. So the letter is going to be white and your background is going to be whatever color you mixed. So if it helps you, and again, you're just watching right now, you can draw out your letter, draw it nice and big. So my name is Michelle, so I'm going to draw an M in pencil. You don't necessarily have to draw it out if you feel like you can do it free-handed, but sometimes this helps. And then we want the M to be white, and then my background is going to be whatever color I mixed, or whatever color you mixed. So I mixed a red. I'm just going to dip a little bit into my red mixture. I would use the medium green brush for this part. I feel like it's going to be the easiest one to work with. So the medium green brush. And then what you're going to do, again, you're watching, is you're going to paint everywhere around that letter, and you're going to turn that letter into like a white block letter almost. So I'm kind of painting around that letter and making it so that it is a white block letter, so a white thick letter. So you do not need to wet the paper first with water because we want to control where this color is going. We don't want it to go into the areas that we want to leave white. So you're coloring the background and you're leaving whatever area the letter is going to be in untouched by the paint because we want to create a white kind of block letter. And you don't need much paint. Remember, if you have some of these areas where the paint looks like it's kind of piling up, dry off your brush and just really lightly tap it so it can kind of start to soak up any of those puddles. But that's basically it. So you're creating a white letter and you're creating the white of that letter by leaving the areas that we want white unpainted. And that's it. So you guys can go ahead and do that. And then when you're done, take a photo of your paper and turn in the photo of the front side and a photo of the back side of your paper and turn that into Google Classroom. So you're turning in 2 photos for this assignment, but it needs to be all completed. So if it's not completed, make sure you finish it first, then take a photo of the front and the back and get that completed. But that's it. So the rest of the period is yours to first finish this making white square and then work on anything else you may need to work on if you aren't completely done with everything. So double check that value scale, double check your sphere. You only need to do the sphere part, you don't need to do the little cast shadow. You're ignoring that. And yeah, that is it.